What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of 27 in Q alongside there he is, the two-time Super Bowl champ from the New York Football Giants, ready to go.
Yes, sir.
Number 27, the big boy, Brandon Jacobs. I'm Rich Quinones. As always, like, comment, subscribe, follow us on the YouTube channel, 27 in Q. Busy show as we start to kind of get into the weekend of NFL action, college action. We're hoping to hear from Kenny Robles, 135, 140 fighter in a couple moments. If not, we're definitely going to be talking to Brandon Bell, outstanding standout linebacker with Penn State. Try to get his thoughts on Micah Parsons, Saquan Barkley, maybe talk a little bit about your Auburn loss to Penn State a couple weeks ago. But big man, what do you say on this Wednesday?
Hey, man, it's a beautiful Wednesday, man. We're trying to see, man, this high school game we got coming up here, if it's going to be moved on tomorrow, but I don't think so because they haven't said anything. So we're supposed to have some, some remnants from the little hurricane that's supposed to be hitting Florida to come up this way. So, wish everybody down in Florida, safe and, make sure all is well, make sure you get out of the storm, make sure you're somewhere safe.
No, absolutely. I'm looking at these videos and the weather's rough down there and hopefully it passes you guys by as well. But I'm like, what are these dudes doing? Like people swimming in what are you doing out there?
Crazy, man.
That's not crazy. That's knuckleheadish. Like you're asking for trouble. And then did you see the video of the friggin' shark?
No, I didn't.
I'm going to send this to you later on. It's like literally a shark swimming in the street. The remnants, the water flow over. I mean, I didn't think it was Sharknado, but you got a shark. I mean, listen.
Was it real? But was it real? Because every time we have a storm now, Rich.
Yes.
Every time we have a storm, they got a shark or something swimming in the streets.
Listen.
Every time we have a big storm in the South, they always show some shark or alligator swimming in the streets or whatever it is. I make sure it's real now.
Listen, Brandon. If it's on social media, it has to be true, right?
Oh my God, you're right. That's what makes social media is what we live by. So I guess it's definitely true.
Speaking of the truth and maybe major speculation, we got to start to show the opening drive with this. So I guess there's buzz now that this thought is the Giants, if everything kind of goes by the wayside and they lose a couple more games, trade deadline right around the corner, why not trade Saquan Barkley and a couple of teams that are out there, which would make sense, like a Buffalo Bills. You give Josh Allen a running game. I know it's purely, I guess, fodder right now as we speak, but I want to get your thoughts on a couple of things. And we talked about this maybe about a month or so ago when you mentioned how the Giants historically don't pay running back. So I guess the first question to you is, if you're a new regime and you realize that this team doesn't have a ton of offensive weapons, would it behoove you to have Saquon try to play out this year and see if you can build around him? Maybe another quarterback, fix the offensive line. We don't know. Or do you think, hey, if he's going to keep putting up these numbers and his trade value goes up, and we understand that we have him on that fifth-year option for about 7.22. Let's trade him and see if we can get a second-round pick.
I think that'd be a good idea. I love Saquon. I mean, one of my, my favorite football player out there. Great guy, great, just good family man. Like he's awesome, like all the way around. But let's talk business, and we know the NFL is about straight business. Whatever make dollars is going to make sense to whatever it is. Whether the kid is the best or not. Get value. I'm not confident in that offensive line. But they did run block pretty decent. I'm just not confident. In just what I seen on Monday night. I got a friend of mine went to my high school. We went. I'm a tad bit older than him. Jordan Mills hit me up today. Woke me up out of nap actually, and said, "Hey man, call your people and tell them come pick me up, man. I'm out here waiting. He's a free agent right now. He was in Dallas the last couple of years, and he said, but like in DeMarcus Lawrence and the other guys over there, it was easy work for him. So, but we got 2 first-round tackles, as we know. And but I don't know. Saquon going to Buffalo, it could be a great thing for Buffalo. I'm not so sure if the Giants are really willing to deal him though.
But you're advocating for that, right? Are you saying, hey, it wouldn't bother you as a fan and a former player and a New York Giant, and with your admiration and respect for Saquon, if they can move him, maybe you're also, and again, I don't want to speak for you, thinking of it like this: if that offensive line is going to stink up the joint like we saw, then you're going to do what they did with Eli. You're going to waste prime years, even though the kid's coming off an injury. He's shown that he looks to be back.
Well, it would hurt me to see him go, but as a football player, I always err with the football players first, the player first, right? So if they're going to trade Saquon to Buffalo and Buffalo is willing to give him $70 million, then by all means necessary, I want him to go to Buffalo. By every stretch of imagination, I want him to be able to get his bread. I want him to be able to get his worth. I just don't see the New York Giants paying him that type of money. Whether he run for 1,300 or 1,000 or whatever the case is, but I just don't see them jotting that name down on a contract as big as Ezekiel Elliott. What you see now, Pollard's the man over there doing everything. So
that's right.
So I don't think the Giants is going to be willing to do such thing. And they really like Saquon. They really want him around, and really want him to be a part of what they have going on. But I mean, making dollars to the Giants would make sense.
But what if you move on from Daniel Jones? Kenny Golladay is probably as good as gone. Tony looks like a bust right now because he's never healthy and he's not on the field and he's in the doghouse. And you had a couple of, I guess you can say, I don't want to call them journeyman wide receivers, and Richie James or Sills, and Slayton's still there as well. If you got rid of all those guys, let's just say, and you trade Saquon, who's your offensive weapon going into next year?
You don't have any. You don't have any. And you can't count on a young rookie to do it. We got lucky with Saquon that he was able to come out of Penn State and be able to put up some great numbers for us and keep us, giving us something to watch. I'm not sure if it's going to be like anybody in free agency. If you get rid of Saquon, who's the next back coming up? You can't go draft the guy again in that same spot. The guy with magical generational ability like Saquon, you never take that chance again. So I don't know what they do, Rich.
So Derrick Henry, $14 million this year. He got the $2 million bump. Elliott, as you mentioned, $12 million. Dalvin Cook, 12.6, $63 million over 5. McCaffrey with that big contract, who's also hurt, by the way, 16 a year, 4-year deal, 64. Kamara, Chubb, Aaron Jones. And then you had Saquon, and that contract was 31.1 B over 4 years, 7.79. 5th-year option is 7.22. So if you look at what he did the first 2 years, great. Then he burst on the scene. We get it. I'm wondering, though, I equate Saquon, and you tell me if I'm off here, like a Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, because he can do so much, and he can also catch the ball out of backfield. So he's a pretty versatile back. So let's just say he has his 1,300 yards, plays 17 games, because if he misses a couple games, that's it. But say 1,300 yards, plays 17 games, adds another 700 receiving, has 15 total touchdowns, close to 2,000 yards from scrimmage, 1,800 yards from scrimmage. Can you see him command those kind of McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara dollars?
Oh, absolutely. I could definitely see it. He's worth it at that point. There's no demanding you get that. It's, hey, man, this is my numbers, and this is what the market says, and this is what they paid those guys who did nothing nowhere near what I just did. So I need something similar, but on the more side of what they had.
Yeah.
And it would be wrong at all to go into it like that. Guy making what, 7.2 million, 7.7 million this year. You got guys out there making 16, 14, 15 million dollars, and they're nowhere near his worth. They're not worth what he is.
When you signed your contract, you were, quote unquote, the primary back.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Which is odd because
I wasn't the primary back. I never was the primary back in New York. I signed my contract predicated on being a part of a two-headed monster or a three-headed monster.
Yeah. Is that, the running back position, man, it's tough. Like forget about from a physical standpoint, right? But you want those carries. I pulled up Chris Johnson's numbers because I like to look at players when they get the big money and all the carries and then what happens afterwards. Man, his rookie year, he carried the ball 251 times as a rookie.
But
Then,
not a great offensive line.
No doubt. Yeah, 100%. 358, 316, 262, 276, 279. Then it dropped off with the Jets in Arizona. But I'm thinking, man, that's your primary back. You're not worried about splitting carries. You know, you, Derek, Ahmad, you know, everyone wants their reps. Everyone wants to touch the football. When you look at the Giants right now, it's really Saquon, and yet they're still not. It feels like he's on a pitch count. They're not overloading him with a 30 carry game.
Well, I just think the game itself is just getting away from the running back. That's just what it is. I don't think they don't want to give him the ball because if this is his last year, they're probably going to want to run him dry and make sure that they got everything out of him. You know, especially if they don't have any success. You know, later on in the season. I just think that just their new way of playing football, where your running back gets 20 carries or 21 carries at most. You know, if it can be that, he got what? I think he had 14 carries last week on Monday night. And I don't know, man. It's just I don't think it's a pitch count. I just think it's more of okay, this is our game plan and this is what we're going to do.
It's just bizarre. Like when I kind of step back a little bit and look at the whole scheme of things, right? Because years ago, the quarterback's always going to make the money. We know that. Mm-hmm. But then we started to see you got to pay the defensive tackles. You got to pay for a premier edge rusher. And then the running backs and the life expectancy, 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, hell, if you're productive for that amount of time, that's a pretty good career. Thinking about all the wear and tear. I don't know, man. It seems like the game is more predicated. Let me get these guys out in the backfield as opposed to just when you were playing power football, right? I mean, the fullback is a lost art.
Absolutely it is, but they still do a lot, though. The guys who have a fullback, well, not particularly a fullback. The guys who play fullback now in the league is a two-position guy. They're H-back, fullback, and sometimes they might go in as tight end, so they could play up to 3 positions.
Yeah, do they run a lot of fullback in high school?
No, we have an H-back that we put in, you know, every so often, but it's not a whole lot of fullback runs, fullback style offenses, unless you got guys that, you know, you got teams that run it, that runs the ball like, 80% of the time they're coming out, line up an eye, and they running that thing down your throat. But you got to, but a lot of those teams have a lot of personnel. Like my school, where my kids go, we have personnel where we can run the spread. Like we can line up in the eye and run it if we wanted to. You know, we can line up with an H-back and run it too. We can come out, you know, spread 5 wides with a, you know, quarterback moving out the pocket and making some great throws. Like we can do that at my school, but a lot of teams that we play line up in the eye and hand that thing off.
Yeah. I don't know, especially my backyard, still teams. I mean, you go 95 up in, I should say down in Delaware, they're still doing the wing tee.
Yep.
You know,
well, you do the wing tee in high school, you don't have a lot of ability to work with.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Yeah, this is high school football, and this is what we got. This is, you live, you know, is where you live.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't have enough talent in the area where they live, and they got to do what they got to do to make it work. And that thing, that triple option is hard to stop, man.
Yeah.
Hard to stop.
And the kids are getting bigger and bigger, man.
Yeah.
I saw your kid squatting, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, that he's a big, that's like mini beast. He's a big boy.
Yeah, I was 4 or 5. He had never had that much on before, and he said he wanted to see what it felt like, and he did it. He did it for 1 rep. I'm like, man, I'm proud of you. You know, he's been, you know, chomping at the bit, trying to get stronger. And I told him his body's gonna hit a stall. You know, you start working out, and every year, you know, your body hits a stall where you benching 275, and you're going all the way from this summer to next summer, and you're still benching 270, 275. So your body's in a stall now, and it's going to come on. It's going to push up, and then that 1 pound you were gaining going to turn into 1.5 pounds. So you're going to almost, almost double, you know, your gains.
And I should have pulled this up. What was the most carries you had in a season? Roundabout. Doesn't have to be 100% accurate. 250.
No, never that much. I don't think it's that much.
Okay.
Like maybe 200. I must go up. I really don't know what's the most I had, but I don't see more than 200.
And the reason I ask is because your off season, how long did it take you for your body to kind of recoup from the wear and tear? I mean,
Well, typically the season will be over. Let's say on the average of December, like coming into January, right before the playoffs, get ready to start.
Yeah.
You know, we will go, I'm going to give you a Super Bowl year. Okay, so we're done in February.
Yep.
We're done in February. Off-season workouts and OTAs and all that stuff doesn't start till March coming around, right? So we pretty much got the whole month of February and like a couple weeks into March before we start again. So you don't really have to be in shape to go start, to work out. You start on the 15th to get in shape. So I kind of laid, I kind of laid low like all of February, like the majority of February, and started like the last weekend of February and going in, the 2 weeks in March. So I have like 3 weeks under my belt where I'll be doing like mild stuff, like some running, some change of direction, some hill runs, lifting, stuff like that. Just kind of so when I hit the ground, when off-season training start, I'm not that badly out of shape. Yeah. We're trying to get myself together, and it doesn't take long because I started 3 weeks ago. So you pretty much get, 3 weeks to a month off, for sure, of not doing anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just wondering how, I was going to say if your body gets acclimated, but it seems like that rest is there and then you blink and you turn around.
Yeah. Turn around right there to squats, power cleans, running.
Yeah.
That type of stuff,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in that position, same with the tackles, right? And the offensive linemen, right? Everything's from their trunk and down, so to speak. So,
oh yeah,
you're doing a lot of power lifting and whatnot. All right. Good stuff with the opening drive. Again, it's another edition of 27 EQ with the two-time Super Bowl champ, former Giants running back number 27, Brandon Jacobs, Rich Quinones. All right. We got week 4 already. And I know Coughlin used to talk about this, right? Quarter to quarter with the season. So we'll get into the Giants and the Bears in a moment. I am wondering if we can kind of go around, but if you had 4, maybe 3 or 4 with these best, some of the games that maybe you were looking at line wise, we can kind of dissect them, or you can just throw the games that you like to me. And I can expand a little more on the lines and the totals and get your thought process with some of these games.
Well, I'm going to start here, Rich, and this one kind of jumps out at me, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead of time with Jacksonville, but they got Philly. They got Philly in Philly, which is hard to play in Philly, but you got a Jacksonville Jaguars team who putting up some points. They got a lot of offensive production. Their defense is playing well, and we got Philly who's hitting on all cylinders. You got offense and defense. They shutting you down and putting up points on you. So that's one of the games that's standing out to me now. So what do you think about that one, Rich?
So that line right now sitting at 6.5. It's probably going to close right around 6. Jacksonville, we saw what they were able to do. See, this is what we talked about last week and even the other day, the recency bias. I think that line's going to move a half a point here and there, but that's Doug Peterson getting ready to take on the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that he coached to a Super Bowl. I think there's going to be some emotion there, but again, that's a coach, right? It's not a player per se. If that kind of makes sense to the listening and viewing audience. The Eagles right now are just clicking on so many cylinders. They really are. Look what they did to Washington. I mean, just the defense itself. I'm not going to get into if the season were to end today, then Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson would be MVP. We're 3 games in. We don't know what's going to happen in a couple more weeks, but I do like the Eagles in the spot. I think they're going to keep it rolling. I'm not going to say big. I think Jacksonville shows a little feistiness, but I can see them covering this number.
Absolutely. Okay, so it's another game, Rich, that stands out to me, and I'm not sure if it's a little replay of the Super Bowl a couple of years ago with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, that's a good one. So that total is 45, and Kansas City right now is lane 1. To me, that's pick 'em. That's an even game. And it's funny because you mentioned that Super Bowl. I mean, you saw where the money was going leading up to the Super Bowl. And then all of a sudden late, it came on Tampa Bay. And we saw what that defense was able to do with Mahomes and really shut them down and get to them. I don't know. Tampa Bay, Brady's coming off a loss to Green Bay. Kansas City's coming off a loss. I mean, you probably got two ticked off quarterbacks. Who do you trust in the spot with more weapons? Is it Tampa Bay and Brady? Or is it Mahomes and Kansas City? And quite frankly, I don't know the remnants of, the Eric Bieniemy, Patrick Mahomes, Bark. And I think Tampa Bay defensively, I think they'll be able to kind of neutralize Kansas City a little bit. I mean, I like the Bucks. I don't know what direction you lean here.
Yeah, that's definitely a difficult one to bet. In my third game, what jumps out at me is on Monday night, in San Francisco 49ers versus the LA Rams in San Fran, in Santa Clara.
Yeah.
Again, huge letdown for the Rams coming into the season, getting scrubbed. San Francisco got Jimmy G back. He played like shit last week. So if you're betting here,
yeah,
in the line, and so what's the line for this game?
It's showing right now anywhere from a point to a point and a half. I saw it as low as a half, which I would have grabbed, which again, to me, it's an even game. It's a pick-em game. It's a coin flip. And do I trust Stafford, who doesn't seem 100%, or Jimmy G? I mean, the 49ers, it's a bad loss the other night, right? They couldn't do anything. Yeah. And I know you're not, I'm a Jimmy fan. I know you're not the biggest Jimmy fan. I get it. I'd have to trust the Rams in this situation. I'm not going to sit here 3-4 weeks in and say the Rams are hungover, but the Rams were leaking oil late last season. They were, and they were not like a juggernaut, right? It's
Shit, Rich, they had the toughest schedule out of anybody last year. Every time you look on primetime, a good team is playing, you see the Rams on the other side.
No.
They won some and they lost some, and so they were in battles. They were prepared to go through these playoffs and get to the Super Bowl throughout the season.
It's a fair point, and that's the reason that they made the moves that they made, because they figure, look, here's our window of opportunity. I mean, I do like the Rams in that spot because, as you alluded to, I don't like what Garoppolo has been doing. I just don't. I'm not confident with him back there. And I'll say the same thing about Sunday for the Giants. Look, that's a game that they should win against the Bears.
Absolutely.
Because that quarterback's not good. And quite frankly, I don't know how good Daniel Jones is. I still can't gauge Daniel Jones. And I feel like if we're sitting here saying offensive line stinks, they might trade or whatever, might get rid of Saquon, not bring him back, and you have no weapons, then how can you really assess the quarterback again?
You can't assess the quarterback when you give him nobody. He barely had anybody when he have people. It's just a team. We're going through I don't know what we're going through, but it's tough to go through it. It's tough to go through it. I'm just so disappointed, man. And we got two high picks at tackle, and I know they're just kids and I don't expect them to be able to be perfect. But shit, 24 pressures.
Yeah.
6 sacks. Not that everyone came from them. Not saying it came from them, but just the line in general it was just such a letdown.
Thomas has proven he's a stud. I can't get on Neal because the kid's played 3 games. Like, you're going to get your ass handed to you as a rookie. That game the other night, it really reminded me the game where OC basically put Winston Justice in retirement. Was it 9 sacks? Destroyed him. He absolutely whatever adjustments that Winston made, OC did the other thing. Okay, I did this time, and he did that time, so I'm gonna switch to this. Okay, he did what I thought he was gonna do the last time. He just had him on his. He just had him on his heels, man. It was fun to watch too. It was fun to be on the sideline watching that. Well, defense plays a part. Speaking of which, jumping on for a couple moments, 27 in Q, Rich Quinones, Brandon Jacobs, another Brandon. Great linebacker from Penn State, also in the NFL, Brandon Bell. What's going on, man? Long time.
I know. What's going on, brother? Nice to meet you too as well, Brandon.
Well, listen,
what's going on, B?
I can tell you this. Brandon's upset on 2 fronts. He had to watch a Penn State guy wreak havoc the other night for the Dallas Cowboys. And I think he might still be a little cranky because what happened to Auburn a couple weeks ago against Penn State.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so.
Yeah, you guys, man. You know, first of all, Bila, good to have you on the show, man.
Yes, sir.
Glad I'm glad things are going well. Yeah, man. I went out. Auburn is recruiting a couple of my kids that play at my high school here, and they invited them to the game, and they picked that game. The atmosphere was bananas there, right? It was great, but man, the game started off kind of slow for both teams, and then Penn State just ran away with that thing. Auburn started to turn the ball over, get penalties, and just Penn State was just playing good, clean football, and it was nothing we could have done in there, man. It was. We ended up leaving in the fourth quarter, so I didn't realize that it was going to get that bad. But man, I was hurt. My feelings were hurt so bad.
Yeah, I didn't really think it was going to be that bad either. You know, I was expecting us, obviously hoping we win. But, you know, last year's game was tight. I went to that game up in Happy Valley. You know, I was envisioning something more like that going on. But I was happy for those guys. They went down there to SEC. You know, it's never easy. I don't care who it is. And they handled business.
It is easy when you I mean, the SEC, you know, people talk about the SEC, but, you know, when I have honest conversation about a lot of people about the SEC, they go against, like, the SEC, you ask me, is really not that strong outside of your Georgia and your Alabama is really not that strong. All of these teams can go and get beat by anybody in any other conference on any Saturday, you know. So I think the whole scare, the whole SEC thing is now gone for a lot of these guys. You know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, you mentioned an SEC team, like, oh man, but I don't think it's that strong, you know, for these guys to be worried about going to play an SEC team now.
Talking about the allure, yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's like when we used to talk about the Big Ten or ACC or Big East in college hoops, right? After a while, and plus with the realignment, the reshuffling. I mean, B, let me ask you this: what's your thought? Do you like the way it's set up, the college football playoff? Do you like that?
I do like that. I do. I think it should be 8 teams over 4, though. I do think the top 8 should get an opportunity, because I do think the top 8 could, on any given day, can beat number 1, number 2, and number 3. I really think there should be more teams involved. I think it should be, you know, your top 8 teams. And so why stop at 8, right? Go 10. You know, make it 10 teams, a couple added extra weeks, and go play ball. And cut your regular season short a little bit. Maybe play 10 games versus 12 games, and get in the playoffs and roll it like that.
Mr. Nittany Lion, you feel the same way about that? What do you think? You think that too, Brandon, with the college football playoffs, how it is right now? Do you like it? See, I gotta differentiate. I gotta go 27, then I gotta go Nittany Lion over here. So I'll go with my Nittany Lion. What's your thoughts right now? On the college football playoffs? See, he's got that shore signal. I guarantee you it's a signal down the shore. I'm telling you right now. Because where we're at, Brandon, B, down the shore, the signal comes in and out, in and out, in and out. We'll see if we got him right there. If not, we'll kind of keep the conversation going. So Mr. Nittany Lion, if you're there, you chime in anytime you want. Or you can disconnect and jump back on to us. All right, while we're trying to work that, there you go. All right, see, I just told him, I said, it's got to be the signal, because we're shore guys, man. It's got to, so wherever you were before, just hang there. There you go. Don't move. Hang there. Good. All right, college football playoff. You like what's going on with that?
I do. I mean, I think, you know, keep up moving, keep things shaking, you know, make it new. As you said, we're going to more teams in the playoffs, give some other teams some shots. Maybe we see more, you know, the outside of the Power 5 schools make a run. I don't know. But I think it makes it all more exciting. And I think we all love college football, because you never know what's going to happen each Saturday.
We got to ask you about 2 of your guys. I mean, let's start with the Giants and Saquon. I mean, I'll be honest, man. I wrote this kid off, and I'm wrong. I was flat out wrong. You know, what's your impressions with the 2 years with those injuries? But what have you seen from Saquon Barkley where you said to yourself, this guy's back?
Yeah, man, I was thinking about it. You know, me personally, I'm kind of tired of hearing, "Oh, he's back, he's back." I'm not sure if I expected anything less, to be honest. Obviously, the injuries, they hurt a running back, and we know the running back, life in the NFL can be tough. But I mean, if you know this guy, and we've all seen his talents, and if you've been up and close, he's different. He's different, and I know his mentality going to attack those injuries. He wasn't backing off on anything. He was going to come out there, make the same moves, the same cuts, the same, have the same explosiveness that he's born with. So I didn't expect anything less, and I'm happy he's getting back to those highlight plays.
Yeah. See, Saquon, man, when I look at him, I see a whole lot of greatness, man. Generational talent. Even after injuries, he's still super explosive. He's fast. He's strong. He's still running hard after two, could have been career-ending injuries, and he bounced back, man. And he's been, he's been working hard. He worked a little less hard this offseason, than he did in the past because he figured, let's try something new, right? After spent the last 2 years getting hurt, like after I've been working out for 4 or 5 hours a day. So now let's take those 4 or 5 hours down to 2 hours and get in whatever we can get in 2 hours and have an extra 2-3 hours of rest added on to my, my off-season, preparation. But the guy looks awesome, man. He's fun. He don't look like he lost a step. There's other things around him that we have to bolten up to in order to give him a better chance to be successful.
Yeah, I think it's because you're coming off that injury, and again, I can't speak from a player's perspective, right? Watching him last year, you just saw that he was tentative, and maybe he just didn't trust himself, right? We saw flashes like in the Saints game, and maybe, yeah, exactly, right? It's the mind, right? You have to overcome that mental hurdle. But we were just talking before you came on. If he goes out and has a big time year, he's on his 5th-year option. So do the Giants kind of give him the type of money that, you would get Henry, Elliott, Cook, Kamara, Christian McCaffrey? I mean, it's not a bad spot to be in to see this kid have over 1,300 yards, maybe 600 receiving, close to 2,000 scrimmage.
Man, he's better than all of them, though. He's better than all of those guys, man. Easy. He's better than those guys. I mean, I know it's a numbers game. Yeah. I know they've been healthy, for the most part, but he's better than that. He has more talent than any one of those guys we just named. The closest guy to him is McCaffrey, but he's better than the rest of those guys. So he should definitely be up in the top 2, top 3 as far as salary goes.
Yeah. I think if I put my GM hat on, I don't know what all goes into these decisions, but I think to B's remarks, he's better. So you want to get more in your investment, more return on your investment. I believe, obviously, anything can happen as far as health, but if that guy's out there, you got to believe the offense runs through him. Then
no
the
doubt,
quarterback, you get him going. I think the quarterback position gets a lot better, and everything. The whole team elevates. The organization elevates through 2-6.
It's just the line stinks. I mean, honestly.
They're working on it.
Yeah, listen, I get it. They're working on it, but Thomas looks like a staple. Neal's still a young kid, but we talked about it. It's like almost watching the last years with Eli, right? I mean, you're not addressing what you need. And if you're not run blocking or pass protecting, I don't care who you have back there. I mean, it's –
Yeah, but Rich, everybody say they're not addressing – they drafted an offensive lineman the last 2 years in the first round, right? So how do you address
it? Hasn't panned out.
A problem like that? How?
Yeah. It's maybe it's a talent evaluation, right? Or it's the old regime. The GM, maybe he just thinks these guys can play, and they're not NFL guys. I mean, that's why you had the shuffling with some of these guys over the years. And it's not just the Giants, right? It's a lot of teams in the NFL, right? You want the talent evaluator. That's what these GMs, when they put their hat on, that's what they get paid to do, why they make the big bucks. I have to figure out a way to put the best 11 players on offense on the field and the best 11 on defense on the field. And there's going to be more hits than misses. We can all agree to that. But Saquon, it's a rough spot. I'm going to tell you why. Because he was drafted so high where you don't draft a running back in that spot. So the pressure's already on him. And then when the kid bursts on the scene and gets hurt, that's when you have people come out and say it was a wasted pick. I don't believe that. I just think when you look at their line over the years, if you're going to draft Saquon Barkley and you're going to ride it out another year or so with Eli Manning, then guess what? You have to build around them, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. You want to build in and out, and that line should have been the first thing that was taken care of. And it seems as though there's been more misses than hits.
It's hard, though. I mean, when you're evaluating talent, I think all of it is taking a risk. You know, you're just pissing in the wind. And that's what I call it. You can go get a guy out of college and draft a guy out of college that dominated other guys his age in college, and he come to the NFL with a different scheme, you know, or different verbiage, you know, different guys playing around him with more competitive monsters on the other side of it. He might not necessarily do as much, but he dominated in college. That's the same thing I say about a lot of these five-star kids in high school, right? They're getting this NIL money going into college. Well, you just finished dominating 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. Now you got kids 18 to 21 that's out there, and you're not doing as well. Right, and now you want to run and transfer to schools because now you're on the bench and you're not playing, but you run away with these guys $500,000 that they gave you because they wanted you to come to their school. Right? It's all about having the opportunity to go to the right situation. Who knows what the right situation is? Things just work out at times. Who knew Dalvin Cook will go to Minnesota and end up having a good career like he's had these past 3 years? Yeah. We didn't know that. Nobody knew that.
Yeah. No, listen, I appreciate that point. I get it. BB, let me ask you this. What do you think of the NILs?
You know, I think it's great. Definitely, you know, it comes with a lot of responsibility. It has to be handled well. I think the university has to do that. But, I mean, come on, anytime you get a chance to get some money in, you know, a young kid's pocket, you know, it's out there putting their life on the line damn near for the university that's making, you know, tons of money. I got to get with it. So I don't like the fact that like he just said, the guys can just transfer and kind of run off with the money but that's going to happen. That's going to happen. I think it's only going to breed more competition between these universities, as we know. So it's going to happen. I think that also evens out the playing field. Like we were talking before about playoffs and SEC maybe not being what it was. Cats are going everywhere from everywhere, and the talent pool, I think, even at these smaller schools, is getting deeper. So I think it's a win, all in all.
Yeah, I think it's a win, and I'm glad the guys are getting paid. However, I think you have to qualify for an NIL deal, right? I think that's something they should put that in there. Coming out of high school, recruitment goes the way recruitment goes, right? You're not going to go to a school because they offered you $1 million, right? You're not going to go to a school because it offers you $200,000. You're going to go to a school because that's the best fit for you, and that seemed like, you know, someone that you want to spend the next 3 or 4 years with, you know, that can remind you of your parents or being around a family-like atmosphere. And I think as you get into your sophomore year, whether you're redshirted or not, sophomore year or redshirt sophomore year or redshirt freshman year, that's when you should qualify for NIL, your second year in college. No one should qualify for it the first year unless they're starting and they're putting up those type of numbers where they can get some money. But the guys, not just to go give a guy that's coming out of high school all of this money from dominating 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, you know, I just think so. That's a little bit absurd. Now, get him in college, you know, for a year or so and let him prove his worth and then offer him $1 million or whatever the case is, you know?
Valid.
What do you think a kid like back in the day, Maurice Claret, probably would have commanded?
I don't know. He probably would have priced himself out, though.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he'd have priced himself out. There's no question about it. He'd have did it.
We got to ask you about a player that's probably going to, you know, be a friggin' thorn in our sides is Giant guys over the next 10 years.
I wish we could have drafted him.
Now, Vivi, we talked about this last year when you came on my radio show. We were talking about Michael Parsons, and you flat out told me, you're like, Q, listen to me. This dude, this cat is going. We weren't talking like Lawrence Taylor-ish, but the way he plays the position, man. I mean, what what do you see from this kid that you say to yourself, he's going to be friggin' special, man, for the next 10 plus years?
Yeah, I mean, we all see his like physical traits, whether it's change of direction, the speed, the strength. I mean, I'm not sure what he's weighing, maybe 250 tops, maybe right now. But you see him, he's long arming tackles, putting guys on their butt, but he literally has it all to be a dominant defensive player. I can't even put him in a position. We see him play off the ball stack. He can do that. He's smart enough. He's fast enough to do that. But he's going to make his money on the edge, and that's just natural. That's what he played in high school. Penn State got him up there and, put him at stack, which I think only benefited him. That way he can see the defense, read it, understand it. He can run the defense if need be. But the God-given abilities that he has is going to, as we see, is going to live long in the league, man. Honestly, give me another dominant rusher. Give me 3 other guys you say that are more dominant as a rusher.
From the linebacker spot or your edge rusher?
No, in the league right now, in general.
There's no more dominant than him.
No, his size, it's like a hybrid position, right? I'm not going to say it's like Taylor-esque, but if you look at the physicality and the way they get to the ball, the way he just darts off the line of scrimmage, he's got the gap discipline. He's got a nose for the football. He knows how to read the play. I mean, Donald to me is a beast, and I say this and I get killed. I can't say he's the greatest defensive player that's ever lived, man. I still think that mine
ever lived.
That's what people say.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I heard that. I mean, right now.
They talk about Aaron Donald like he's the greatest defensive player, and I'm like no, I got a 56 in New York. But I'm just telling you what the talking heads in the media they look at this, the recency bias again. I'm not going to stick Parsons in the Hall of Fame, but man, I'll tell you what, that kid's going to be a Pro Bowl and All Pro. I mean, he's probably going to have X amount of sacks, fumble recoveries, strip sacks, maybe a couple interceptions dropping back. He's a guy where when Gibbs decided years ago, we got to figure out a way to take care of LT. So what do? They brought in an extra linebacker, right, to chip him a little bit. Like, how do you defend against Parsons? How do you do that? Because he's all over the place.
You lose your running back in pass protection, and is you put your running back over there, chip him, right, slow him down a little bit. Just have your lineman sit inside. Just don't get beat inside. I have your outside half. I'm gonna chip him, knock him back on you, and I'm gonna run it, a little M, or I'm gonna get in a flat area, to be an easy outlet if nothing's open. That's the only way. You can't single him up on a lineman. You can't. He's gonna beat him every time.
Yeah, we've seen that. I mean, 3 sacks by DeMarcus Lawrence. As you said, that opens up opportunities for the other guys, and that makes the team better. And but believe me, Micah, he's gonna get his. And you said the Pro Bowl, right? That brought me working on a piece here, looking at some tape from last year. We're talking about LT, just the mindset also. You see, he's out there. He's like, I'm not playing this soft stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm going out there. I'm hitting cats. I'm gonna play hard. I don't know how to not play hard.
Yeah.
And I think that on top of the talent, like we're talking Saquon, on top of the talent, is all the more reason why he's, as you said, his stock is trending. Might not say it now, but he's trending the right way.
Man, he's the best defensive player in the league. I don't see nobody else being that athletic out there doing the stuff he's doing, that agile. These big guys got a task when they got to block this man. I promise you. They got a task, and they probably hate every time they see Dallas on their schedule. Like, damn, I got to block. I got to deal with this dude for 3 hours. Man, this shit is just too much, So I felt like that about Dolphins.
He's coming.
That's it. I mean, listen, I agree. I think the kid's special, and the scary part is the game seems to be, and you guys just speak to this for playing, right? When it starts to slow down and you kind of understand and get a grasp, and now all of a sudden, every time he lines up, man, it's like watching a guy locked in, right? It's like watching a guy in the batter's box where if you grew that fastball, it's going to be a home run. Like, I don't want to see this kid over the next 10 years in the NFC East.
Yeah, I feel bad for you.
Right now, we were talking about this the other day. You know, the NFL, right? Buffalo comes back to earth a little bit. The Philadelphia Eagles, they're kind of ripping through people. We saw what they did against Washington. When you look at the AFC and the NFC right now, 1-1, who are your two best squads? And it's early on in the season.
You know, I think the it's tough, man. It's still so early. As you said, the Eagles are looking great right now. Can't knock them off their role right now. But I can't sleep on, the Rams. Teams like that where they might not look spectacular right now, but you got great coaching and great players. They're gonna get it going eventually. But that being said, that's a tough one, man. I'll still go with. I don't know. I can't. I don't know. I can't. It's too early. Give me week 8. Week 8.
So week 8. Yeah.
Week 8.
Yeah. Well, hey, man. I mean, week 8 is a very important week in the NFL, as we all know. You're coming up on midseason now with the extra game. You're coming up on midseason. You got some teams that have some injuries. You got some backups that's settling in. What you're gonna have the rest of the team if no one else get hurt. So week 8, week 9 is definitely a fair week to see where the ability and the good teams are sitting at that point to really make an assessment to see what they do going into the postseason.
All right, I got last one for me. Last one for
me. Look, Brandon. Look, I got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not sure. Yes, I'm not sure you're into this or know much about it, but boxing. How much are you into boxing?
Yeah, I am into it.
You're into it. Okay. So give me your prediction on Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford.
Ooh. I'd have to go. I can make a decision on this one. I'd have to go Crawford on this one. I think he may not be the flashiest of them all, but I think his credibility, his examples or his resume speaks for itself. I think he's the top dog for a reason. I think it'll be tough. I like Spence, but I don't know, something about Crawford. He's got that like OG, no, I do this. This is my game.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. I like Crawford, I guess, in that matchup.
Okay, and one more boxing question for you.
Yes, sir.
Rich, and I think Rich might know what's coming here.
I don't set up.
I think I might know.
Are you into how far back do you go with heavyweights and knowing about heavyweight boxing? Like how far back do you go?
Yeah, I won't say I'm well in depth, really in boxing at all. I'm not going to come out here and be a pro. I think I more so got into it as deep as I am now over the last since I was playing coming out of college, the last like 6 years. But I don't know. I can't say I'm too in depth. Wow, what's the question?
So do you know, Rich gonna take you back to these guys in the 60s and 70s, which I think is 100% irrelevant, right? They use their head for defense, right?
Right.
I'm going we always have this, and every time we have somebody on, we always talk about. I say the greatest heavyweight of all time is Tyson Fury. I say that because of the movement, the skill and the size and the power that he possesses, right? None of those other guys have the power and the size that he has, and he does a pretty good job of keeping people away from him. Not, he's not taking his advantage away, and Rich can't, Rich just won't give him that. What's your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts on my opinion of me saying that he's the greatest heavyweight of all time?
See, when I hear that, and I think anyone's opinion is valid, so I think there's validity to your answer. But when I hear that, I think it takes me to basketball, and there's always a great debate every year. You see it on Twitter somewhere. The players in this generation playing against the GOATs in whatever generation, 90s, 80s. And I think it's just hard to really say, because we all know the guys now have more skill. The training is different. The body types, guys, are just different now. Like you said, Tyson, what is he, 6'10", 6'9"?
6'9", yeah.
Length, he's got the length. He's got the skill, as you said. That's what surprised me watching him a couple years ago as I kind of got into it, is like, to your point, this guy's not taking hits. He may not look like, you know, some of these guys ripped up, but you know, he's moving, he's dipping and dodging.
He got love handles, you know. He got love handles coming in that thing, you know. That's, but you know,
but the skill is there.
He's whooping cats' ass though.
Yeah, and it's the same with basketball to me. You know, guys are training. Guys in the '90s, '80s were not dribbling. They did not have the type of skill that guys have now, as far as a pure basketball, you know, skill. But it was a different era. Some say they were tougher. You know, the dog was different. Whatever it may be. I just think it's hard to say. I want to hear Rich's guy though.
Listen,
he won't give you one. He won't give you one.
I make a case for and against some of these guys, Foreman, Ollie Holmes. But see, the big man up there, you know, number 27, he likes to chide me. He likes to goat me and bait me. But I'm not going to do it tonight. I did that the other night, you know. And I think some of those can give a little run for the money. I mean, Fury is certainly an all-time great fighter, but
Fury's the all-time greatest fighter heavyweight.
See, this is what I'm saying, man.
I'm not gonna let you keep saying that.
You know, listen, and then you know what'll happen? Like last night, like I was like a little child. I was a little girl. I was like 9:30, and I was like, "Yo, by the way, X, Y, and Z can beat Fury. Good night." So I had to get my last text out. Listen, we got about a minute before I let you get out of here. How would you, as a linebacker, how would you tackle number 27?
Ooh, you gotta go straight through the thighs, man. Straight through the thighs. Depending on the situation, I'll meet him up top. You know, goal line. Gotta do what you gotta do. Gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta throw him in there. But I know all about B. Jacobs, man. I grew up watching you. That's part of the reason why I'm here at Films, man. I grew up watching just everything. That's why I'm not an Eagles fan. I'm from Eagles territory. I just kind of hated the fans growing up, and I grew up just watching all football, have favorite players. So yeah, I know, big body, big back, and I love that. I love the physicality. You know, you might not see it nowadays in the run game. You got Derrick Henry. That's, you know, maybe about it, but
nobody running up on him like that though. Well, now they're running up on him like that now. Yeah. You know, like last year, like going for like before then, they wasn't just running up, trying to hit him in the hole. They weren't just doing that. They always trying to come out of side, which is why they always end up getting stiff on crazy. Right. He don't barely have anybody ever meet him mano a mano in that thing where you got to drop his shoulders. Like they always trying to, you know, get him from the side. A guy that's 255 plus pounds with all the power and stuff he got going forward. Anytime you try to tackle a guy from the side, he can make you look like a rag dog, and that's what he's been doing to people.
That's a question, if you don't mind asking you. What's it like? Because you guys are taller backs as well as obviously big. 6+ whatever is a big back, tall back. How was that as far as, you know, staying low and protecting your legs and all that?
Well, it's quite difficult to protect your legs, but I kind of use my protect. Like a lot of people always say, I tiptoe and all this other stuff, but I had moves. That I, you know, I was watching a 35-minute highlight that somebody sent me of myself, and I'm like, I really had some wiggle too. I was a big back with some nice wiggle, right? It wasn't always necessary to run over somebody when you had the opportunity, you know, try to take less punishment. But yeah, just trying to keep people off of your legs is really difficult when you have so much of your body is just your legs. Yeah, you know, and it was really hard. I definitely had my fair share of knee injuries, no question about it.
Because that's, for me as a linebacker, that was always more of a, you know, going into the game is like the little guys, the little fast guys gave me more, you know, made me sleep a little bit less than the big guys. Obviously, they can run you over, but, you know, you can bring it. The fast guys is like, all right, I might get juked out my socks if I don't correct. But, all
right, we got to start wrapping it up. Got about a minute before they cut us off here. But BB, always appreciate you, pal. We'll get you back on. Everyone follow him on Twitter @_B Bell. Keep up the good work, man. I appreciate, you know, you coming on, dropping a little knowledge, and I know you're working hard, looking at that film, getting into the broadcast field as well. So appreciate you jumping on 27 and Q, pal.
Thank you. No problem.
Hey, thanks for coming, man.
No doubt, man. If you guys ever around South Jersey, come on up to NFL Films, man. Get you on the NFL matchup set. Let it talk ball. You know, Greg Cosell and those guys. Check it out on Saturday, Sunday.
We might have to make that happen.
All right.
Let me know, for real.
Yeah.
All right. We got you,
brother.
BB. Appreciate you, man. All right. Be well.
Peace.
All right. Be well. Good stuff, man. Appreciate that greatly. All right. Number 27. I got to let you get out of here. I know you got a busy weekend. We might squeeze in another episode. We don't know yet, but I always appreciate you. That was some good stuff. I know we got about 30 seconds. You got high school football. You got coaching. I'm going to bug you with some boxing stuff later, and say what you have to say before we get out of here.
Hey, man, yeah, we got high school. We're playing the number one team in our division this weekend. Good team, great quarterback. He runs around like crazy. Really good. So we got our work cut out for us. I think the boys will be okay. Then we got the St. Francis Knights Middle School playing tomorrow, which is my 12-year-old play on two teams, that team and his club team, which is played on Saturday. So we got a good another week of action-packed football for the Jacobs household. And yeah, that's about it, Rich. We got the Giants Bears coming up.
Yep.
So let's see.
All right. We got a busy weekend. Good luck with that. With the kids and everything. Everyone subscribe. Don't forget 27&Q, Apple, Spotify, Podcast Addict, everything for the two-time Super Bowl champ, number 27, Brandon Jason.
You guys have a good one.
I'm Rich Quinones. Appreciate everyone keeping us locked in to another edition of 27&Q.